Hello, loves. Hello, hello. It's Hills here from the Blue Flame Apothecary. I'm so overjoyed and grateful to be joining you all here in this moment, in this now, as we are riding through the last part of this eclipse wormhole. How are you all doing? I know this energy has been a lot. It is a lot. Whew. Where are we going to begin? Today we're going to talk about the full moon eclipse that's happening on the 28th in Taurus. We're going to talk about the sun in Scorpio. We're going to talk about the ending of a cycle, the beginning of a new. Let's take a moment here as we've all been swirling through this very, very, very intense, maybe, karmic portal, soul mission portal, to remember within our beings that the South Node is still conjunct Arcturus and will be through the end of the month as we move through the All Hallows Eve and as we continue to move through Dia de los Muertos and Samhain, which is actually, Samhain is the first. It's usually the 31st, 1st of October, but because of the way that the precession of the seasons works, the precession of the stars and the equinoxes and all of the things, astrologically, Samhain is also on the 7th of November. So we have this kind of long-running portal of that celebration of the fall, of the ending of the harvest season, and the coming of the winter season in the Northern Hemisphere. Samhain, All Hallows Eve, Dia de los Muertos, is also the celebration of the Golden Gateway, a period of time when the Pleiades and the Hyades are at their highest point in our night skies. Let's feel, where are we going to go? It almost feels like that's where we're going to start, and then we'll kind of move back into the eclipse itself, and then we'll see where we go from there. Alrighty. So the Pleiades and the Hyades, they make this golden gateway in our sky. It is sometimes said to be the passage point as you leave or as you return to earthly incarnations. So we've talked about Arcturus as the place where, like the way station, that train station where you go when you depart or as you're coming into an earthly incarnation. It's where you access the Akashic records, where you play around with your life planning sessions and your life review sessions. One of the ways that you could view this golden gateway is if the Arcturus stellar dimension is the commuter hub, the Golden Gateway is one of the passages, one of the portals that you can take to come in or to leave from one of your earthly incarnations. The Pleiades are also very connected to the birthing. Some channelers have talked about the Pleiades as the original source code for the DNA that we as humans have. You can take that wherever you'd like to. Let it feel in your system how it feels in your system. The Pleiades meet in conjunction with the sun, just as the sun shifts from Taurus into Gemini. So as we are just starting to inch from the kind of spring season and coming into the last, that mutable Gemini energy, that last part, the last cycle of the spring coming into summer in the northern hemisphere. The southern hemisphere, this would be the fall coming into the winter. It reaches its highest point as we are once again in a mutable sign, as we're moving through the sign of Scorpio. And it's really going to be at the highest as we start to shift into Sagittarius. So it is a harbinger of birth, and it is a harbinger of death. This is the way that the Pleiades work. They are birth doulas and they are death doulas. It's one of the reasons that we culturally celebrate this time of year as an access point to our ancestors. Also with that Arcturian energy, with the sun coming into conjunction with Arcturus in Libra, our relationships and the scales, that way in which we move through our incarnations and the other souls in which we contract with. When the sun is in Scorpio, as it is now, we are being gifted the opportunity to let our outward expression of self, this bright shining light that we are, journey into the depths of our being, go into deep wells and reservoirs of emotionality that is often inaccessible to us. And this has been what this portal, this eclipse wormhole, has been all about also, is opening up channels and waves of veins. I like veins better than waves. Veins of access, new planes of being, new ways of being, new expressions of being. Let's feel for a minute. This particular Scorpio season is getting a big, bright, fiery energy to it. You see, Mars last week entered Scorpio. Over this next couple of weeks, as we move through this eclipse wormhole, coming out the other side on the 28th, 29th, the sun moves deeper into Scorpio, and on the 18th of November, Mars and the sun are going to meet in conjunction. So we are playing around. We're playing with fire. We're playing with fire. But one of the ways that I keep seeing it, the beautiful energy that I keep feeling, is that magician's paper, that kind of elusive substance that, because we bring this fire in, it sparks, it fizzles, and then it dissipates. We're in this alchemical marriage energy, the deep groundwaters of Scorpio, with the fire, the drive, and the passion of Mars, and the bright light of our entire outward expression of self, the sun, meeting together in this massive fireball deep within us, deep within us. And I'm now understanding why I was made to wear this dragon sweater today. I love when that happens. When we think of dragons, when dragon energy is about, it is fire breathing, right? Dragons breathe fire. They don't have just the fire here, though. This isn't where it's sourced from. It's sourced from deep within. It burns. It purifies from deep in the depths, and it roars out. Interestingly, Mercury on this full moon is conjunct Mars in Scorpio. So we can feel that fire coming out, right? One of the energies that I'm feeling very strongly about this first half of November in particular, and this end of October, as we're coming through the full moon eclipse and deeper into Scorpio season, because we are stepping more into our power. Dragon is also empowerment. It's solar plexus energy. It's solar plexus energy. So coming more and more into our power, our whole power. As we're doing that, we might hit some things that are old, deep angers, deep rages that are not, that had not previously been visible to us, that we hadn't been able to access, or we didn't know we were still carrying around. And they are probably going to need a little bit of releasing, a little bit of releasing. And I think it was in my last video, maybe the one just before that, with the new moon eclipse, where I said there might be some rage to release, and a healthy way to do that is like scream into your pillow, dance really big around your kitchen, finding a safe outlet for this rage, because otherwise, if you let it boil and get too, if you don't give it an outlet, it will find one. And, you know, it might be your kids or your partner, some person that cuts you off on the street, or, you know. But if we can find these healthy outlets, if we cry in the shower, if we scream into our pillows, if we dance to really loud music and just scream out the lyrics, that sort of thing. And I'm being told to share with you something personal about what, an example of how this could look. This is very personal. So now I'm understanding also why I was feeling a bit crunchy coming into recording this. The other day, I was in my morning meditation. I have a meditation practice before I even get out of bed. I get out and like scrape my tongue and go pee, and then I get back into bed and I allow this meditation. Sometimes it's 20 minutes, sometimes it's 3 hours. In this particular meditation, I was working with a line of tension that I have noticed along the left side of my body. It goes all the way from like my first 3 toes, in particular that second toe, and it runs all the way up through my pelvic floor, all the way up through my torso, all the way up, and it connects in at the back of my ear here on the left side. And there's this spot that, since I was really sick, some of you may know that I was very, very sick for a long time. And it was a chronic pain, endometriosis. There was a lot going on in my root, sacral, solar plexus area. And I had a lot of surgeries. And there was this one location kind of off to the left of my belly button that I would call the spot, because no matter what, it always hurt. I was working with this line of tension that I found there. And as I was working with this line of tension, I found the seed. I found the source code, the source point of this line. And it was deep, deep in my pelvic floor, a place that I previously did not have access to. And when I got there and I started energetically working, allowing light and my attention to come into this area, I found part of little Hillary. Little girl Hillary, maybe 11 years old, give or take, was hanging out there, and she'd been hiding there for a long time. She'd been hiding there since I was that age, in fact. At that age, there was a moment when my sister and I went to my mother to reveal something to her. And I was shown this instance, something that I thought that I had forgiven my mother for. But I was shown it in a different way. I was asked to look at my mother's face, to really, really look at her face, and to see what the 11-year-old me actually saw, as opposed to what I told myself I saw. And what I actually saw was different. Her reaction was different than I had been telling myself it was. And in order to forgive her, I had to tell myself that what I saw her reaction as was this thing that was a good reaction. Oh, she did what she, as soon as she knew what was happening, of course, she, lickety split, she jumped into action. But what I actually saw at that time was, oh shit, it's been vocalized now. Now I have to do something. I can't pretend it's not happening anymore. So can you see the difference? And how angry 11-year-old Hillary was? Still is. I'm not gonna lie. I can't. But she released so much. And in that meditation, this deep guttural roar came out of my body and out of my mouth. And I laid there and I allowed her anger to move through, to let her know that it was okay, that she was angry, and to thank her for showing me this so that I could release that too. And I shared with her, if there's more that you need to reveal to me, that you need me to witness, that I have been ignoring, please tell me, please show me. I am here, I'm not going anywhere. And this is another piece. For her, I'm not going anywhere is a bit of a trigger. Oh, are you? Are you really gonna stay? I have a Chiron in Aries. Abandonment is a big thing for me, right? A lot of us have this, and Aries is where Chiron is right now, retrograding through, so we can feel this, right? All of us are collectively going through, but I will be abandoned if I step into this truth, if I remember this, if I stand and say no more, if I stand and I say no. I really like this show, Hot Ones. It's a ridiculous show on YouTube, but I love it. It's one of my favorite shows because I like watching people like who generally have a really strong mass kind of shed them as they eat these progressively hotter chicken wings. And there was one episode, it was Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and the interviewer, Sean, asked her, because she had a new podcast and she was interviewing influential women, what one of her favorite things that she had received, bits of wisdom from these wisdom holders. And she said, no, as a whole sentence, no as a complete sentence. And I invite us, as we're moving through this energy, to feel into what that what the idea of no as a complete sentence feels like in our system. Can we say no when the answer is no? You see, we are ending a cycle. This full moon is the end of a cycle. We will not have another Scorpio-Taurus axis eclipse until 2031, when the North Node goes into Scorpio. That should be interesting, right? See where we are then. But as this cycle ends, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. This cycle ends to give birth to a new cycle. And this new cycle is standing courageously or sitting courageously. There's a lot of Sekhmet sort of energy, and Kali is very strong. Kali is very strong during this full moon. Kali is almost exactly opposite Pluto. Or sorry, exactly trine Pluto. Sorry about that. She's also making a mutable grand cross, so that's where the opposite came from. But can we feel like Pluto is turned around now, but is basically parked at the end of Capricorn, and Kali at 29 of Virgo is making a very tight trine, the gift of no as a complete sentence, coming back into wholeness through that. That was part of my lesson that I received the other day in that meditation. Little Hillary was saying, no, I will not be silent anymore. I will not pretend that the reaction was the thing that makes me feel more comfortable. We see this. I will allow the rage, the anger that I hid from myself to move through, but I will allow it a healthy outlet. I will allow it a healthy outlet. In meditation, allowing it to roar out of me. As opposed to, I've been angry for so long, and then looking at my partner and saying, you did this, which they didn't actually do, sort of thing. My kid, I don't have kids, but you know, so on and so forth. All right, let's see. Let us feel, what is this? What is this Kali Grand Cross, shall we? Oh, we have been talking about Neptune's square to the galactic center for a while. This is something that's going to be running through the rest of this year and well into next. Neptune in Pisces, still retrograde, is currently pretty tightly across from Kali and Virgo. An exact square is being made between Kali and Virgo and Medusa in Gemini. We feel that reclamation energy again, and awakening to, I will not let that false story stand any longer. I will not let that false story stand any longer. Before I can move on within this grand cross, I have to share that Medusa is also exactly trine Magdalena's asteroid, who has turned around and is now moving forward back through the end degrees of Aquarius now. The Arcturus South Node conjunction is pretty close to this. Arcturus and the South Node are at 24 of Libra. Medusa is at 29 of Gemini, and Magdalena is at 28 of Aquarius. So we can really feel this, like, going into the old stories, reclaiming the parts that are true, the parts that we're getting a fun little piece here. The veil, the wool that we pulled over our own eyes, the way that we allowed and that we told ourselves stories, like the story that I told myself about what the look on my mother's face was. Can you feel that? And we have Neptune in Pisces retrograding through the higher heart, retrograding through the higher heart, through the dream time, helping us connect in through our heart space. Our heart space is also where the Akashic records are held. So we're moving deeper in, connecting into those stories, allowing our little selves, not our little selves like our ego selves, but our young selves and our higher selves to show us more of the picture, to remove the superfluous information, all of the, sometimes it comes as a like junk code that's on either side. You know those code breaker movies where the actual message is like every third word sort of thing? It's that sort of energy, right? We're going back in to our personal stories and the collective stories and connecting in with those parts that are actually true, the message hidden in the whole thing. So that we can come back out and say, this is the actual true story. This is the truest version of the story that I can currently access in this moment. All right. Here's another piece that's going to drop in. Ah, yes, the Anubis. So the Anubis are, if you've ever studied the Egyptian gods and that archetypal energies, the hieroglyphs, and looked at the pyramids or read the Egyptian Book of the Dead or anything like that, when you see the god that has that like black coyote or wolf head, those are the Anubis. They are guardians of the Akashic records. They are also the fairy beings, the beings that help you transit through the plains. They'll take you on the boat through the Nile so that you can travel into the underworld and also help you travel into the upper worlds. The Anubis on this full moon are going to be, there's an asteroid named after them, of course there is. Their asteroid is going to be exactly conjunct the Great Attractor, which is that big galactic vacuum cleaner, the gravitational anomaly that pulls everything into it at extravagant speeds. And we can feel through all of this energy that I've been talking about, this no as a complete sentence, through this revealing the hidden, the encoded messages, pulling the wool away from our eyes, that magic paper and the flurries of light that are left, that sparks, the debris. Every time we reveal something, those words that weren't necessary, that's a good piece of it. As the Anubis are traveling through the Great Attractor, we can start to feel how they are saying, oh, here, let me take that. Let me take those extra words. Let me take that false narrative for you. And I will just let it go into this massive, it's not a black hole. Nobody really knows exactly what it is, actually, which is amazing. I love that. But letting it go to be sucked up so it can be transmuted. A lot of times, and I'm going to invite us to play with this energy as we move through this particular eclipse. Full moon eclipses shine bright lights, right? They're times of releasing. They're times of releasing. So as we move through this eclipse over this next couple of days, if you're watching, I don't know when you're watching this, but the eclipse is on Saturday the 28th at 1:24 p.m. Pacific. So that peak hour is a good time to work with this practice, but really any time in the next week and a half, all the way through the first week of November, as we move through All Hallows Eve and even to November 7th when we come into Samhain's exact date. All right, let's feel exactly. We're going to feel into the Great Attractor. I'm going to invite us to feel into the Great Attractor now. If it calls, go ahead and close your eyes. Otherwise, you can keep them open and allow your inner sight to share with you a sort of sliver of space. You can see all the stars all around, but this one place, there doesn't seem to be anything happening at first. It looks darker. It looks darker than the space that surrounds. As you allow your visioning to come more and more into focus of this place, this space, you can start to feel it pulling from your chiron point, from your diaphragm, from your solar plexus in particular, and from the back of your heart. Old stuck energy. You exhale and feed this vacuum. You might even see like little specks of dust coming out of your exhale. You could feel the full moon before the eclipse, bright, shining. And through this reflected light of the full moon, you can see those specks of dust even more clearly. And they come through. And as the sun and the earth and the moon pass through one another as we move into this eclipse energy, and it's a partial eclipse, so there's going to be quite a bit of the moon still visible through it. You can feel as the Anubis are carrying, you know, those old like Halloween of the witch on the broom flying through the full moon. You can feel the Anubis as this energy moving across the face of this eclipsed moon, pulling up even more debris from the depths that are now accessible because it's an eclipse, because there's darkness, there's a shadow there for you to play with. And the Anubis, with that paddle and that ferry boat, pulling into the shadow, into your depths, up and over, allowing that stuff to be carried into the boat, which will then ferry across over to that space, the Great Attractor, and allow it to be sucked in. And as it's sucked in, it's stretched out, and even more is revealed. Even more is revealed, and it's able to let go of even more, and it's allowing those particles to come into the place of the no thing, where they can be transmuted and then be born again as light, as sound, as vibration, whatever it is that is their next highest expression. And I talked about the witch passing over the moon, and Hecate was like, "Oh, you're not getting out of this. You're not getting out of this energy update without talking about me." Hecate is currently at 0 degrees of Virgo. This is putting Hecate exactly across from Saturn. Saturn is going to begin forward motion again on the 4th of November. So the Queen of the Crossroads, that beautiful triple goddess, wholeness unto self energy that is Hecate, the maiden, the mother, and the crone, all in one being, sitting across from the Magdalena-Saturn conjunction as Saturn is preparing, slowing down even more and preparing to turn around and start forward through Pisces again, helping us to come more into, remember, Saturn is also the Lord of Karma. Saturn is also the Lord of Karma, helping us to also reroute ourselves to our highest timeline, our highest heart. And thank you. Saturn, the Lord of Karma and of time, is helping us through Hecate, through this opposition with Hecate in Virgo wholeness, to find ourselves at that crossroads during this full moon and align ourselves to the highest possible timeline, to the timeline that is there within our high heart, within the deepest chambers of our heart, which is also where the Akashic records reside. There's so much happening during this eclipse. I'm like, I could just talk and talk and talk and talk. We've got Persephone exactly conjunct Maya at 0 degrees of Scorpio. Isis is at the very end of Libra. Isis is actually in an exact trine with Medusa and the Magdalena. Can't believe I almost forgot that. So what beautiful rebirth, remembering energy we have. And this is an air trine, an air grand trine. So we get to play with expressing, connecting to and expressing that which we remember. And perhaps that is the reason that know as a complete sentence, and allowing ourselves to really see what's going on in our relationships is so loud during this cycle. To shed away those parts of ourselves that say, if you share this, they're going to leave you. Because if you share your truth and they leave, let them. Right? If you are in a relationship with someone you can't share your whole self with, your truth with, is it really in your highest good? Is it really in theirs? See? There is an alarm going off if that is true. And that's a little bit for me also. And I think that's where we're going to leave. I know there is so much more I could share. And I also want to say Arcturus Gateway. There will be a link for the replay below in the stuff, in the things. And if you liked this, amazing, like it. And if you share it, amazing, share it. And let me know what you guys are doing in the comments and all the things. It is such a gift and such a joy and such an honor for me to share these cosmic weavings with you in this open channel way. And I am so, so grateful to you all and to the all for this beautiful gift. May you journey well. And if the members portal calls to you, links below, cosmic light drops, links below, you know, all the links below, the subscribing and the comments and all the things. I love you, as always, and always, so much and many, from, through, and beyond the all dimensions.